"I've been sleeping with someone else," she whispered, while staring straight at our therapist. It took me a second to register that sentence. Not because it was vague, not because she mumbled, but because she didn't look at me. Not once. She said it to the room like I wasn't even there. We were in our third couples therapy session. The room smelled like bergamot oil and paperbacks. There was a Himalayan salt lamp in the corner. One of those weirdly cozy offices with rugs that feel too soft for trauma. The therapist, Janice, paused. Like she knew the bomb just went off, but wasn't sure which of us had the shrapnel in our lungs. "Would you like to say more about that, Clara?" she asked gently. Clara blinked. Once. Twice. Then she looked directly at me. "It's not what you think." The most cowardly sentence in the English language. I didn't say anything. I just stared at her and waited. Because if I opened my mouth, I'd scream. She folded her hands in her lap. Her face was smooth. Blank. Like she'd rehearsed this. "It was before we came to therapy," she said. "It doesn't matter now. It was a moment. I had to get something out of my system, and it's over." I still said nothing. Because the world was doing that thing it does before you throw up. That faraway underwater buzzing like blood leaving your ears. Janice started talking about emotional boundaries and safety. I don't remember any of it. What I do remember is the dream I had the night before. A woman knocking on a foggy mirror, her face blurry, her eyes mine, her mouth moving with no sound. Then she screamed, and I woke up sweating. Clara had rolled over and touched my shoulder that morning. Bad dream? I nodded. She kissed my neck. "You're safe. We're safe." What a fucking liar! I snapped back into the room as Clara reached for my hand. She said, "I told you because I want a clean start. You deserve honesty." I let her fingers touch mine. Then I stood up. Janice blinked. "Would you like a break, Ethan?" "I'm going to the bathroom." But I didn't go to the bathroom. I went to the parking garage, got out of my car, and screamed into my steering wheel until my throat cracked. Then I did what any rational man would do. I checked her phone. I wasn't proud of it, but I'd seen her tap out her passcode so many times I could do it blindfolded. She hadn't logged out of her photo stream. What I found made my fingers go numb. There were 3 photos taken last weekend while she was at my mom's in Vermont. Same outfit, same guy, different angles, his hand on her thigh, her hand in his back pocket. Then one with both of them looking smug in a full-length mirror, her shirt pulled halfway up. But it was the 4th photo that made my stomach drop. It wasn't a photo. It was a video. And not just any video. This one had a location tag. The same neighborhood as my brother's new apartment. I paused. Rewatched it. Then I saw it. The hallway wallpaper. My brother's hallway wallpaper. No way. But now everything started clicking. Clara's sudden obsession with being emotionally transparent. Her pushing me to do solo sessions with Janice. Her weird hostility anytime I mentioned my brother's new girlfriend, who apparently Clara hadn't even met. Until now? I locked the phone and stared at myself in the rearview mirror. Then it buzzed in my lap. An unknown number. Just one message. "You should know who she's really in love with." And below it, a screenshot from a private Instagram account. Caption, 2 years in secret, 1 ring coming soon. The photo was Clara. And not me in the shot. It was my brother. And Clara was holding his hand, wearing my mother's heirloom ring. I dropped the phone like it burned me. But the kicker, the photo wasn't posted that day. It was from 6 months ago. And the ring,
It had disappeared from my drawer a week before I planned to propose. I remember asking Clara if she'd seen it. She said, "Maybe you lost it in your sleep." Now I knew what that dream was. It wasn't a nightmare. It was a warning.
Janice's hands were trembling. She tried to hide it by pretending to organize her notes, but the paper shook like it was in a breeze. I stared at the empty couch. "Where is she?" I asked. Janice opened her mouth, closed it, then finally said, She said she needed air. She left right after you did, but she told me not to follow." My stomach twisted. Clara never left her purse. That leather satchel was her security blanket. It had everything. Wallet, meds, burner charger, even her migraine gum. She once walked back into a Starbucks because she thought she left a lip balm in it. Now it sat on the couch like a corpse in a body bag. I walked over and unzipped it. Inside, keys, a wallet, a burner phone, and a small velvet pouch that made my throat go dry. I opened the pouch. The ring. My mother's heirloom ring. She kept it with her all this time. "Ethan, maybe we should sit," Janice started. "No," I said, pulling out the burner phone. It was locked, but only with a 4-digit code. I tried her usual, her birthday backward. Nothing. Then I tried mine. Unlocked. Inside were only 5 contacts. One of them, V. I tapped it. Text read, "Clara, photo of her and my brother shirtless in bed. Clara, he still thinks I'm in Vermont, LOL. V. He's so blind. God, this is fun. Clara, imagine his face when he finds out we had Thanksgiving together." My hands clenched. The turkey Clara forgot to cook because she had a migraine. She spent that holiday with my brother? I clicked the voice memos folder. Only one file. Confession. I tapped play. Clara's voice filled the room. Not scared, not shaky, calm, triumphant. "I know he's going to propose. That's why I needed to get rid of the ring. I couldn't have him beat you to it, babe. You deserve to be first. And Ethan, he deserves to feel what it's like to lose something he thought was guaranteed." I felt the blood drain from my face. Janice was pale now, too. "You didn't know?" I said. She shook her head. "Clara made me sign an NDA to record that. She said it was for a personal healing project. I had no idea it was Ethan. I would never." But I was barely listening. My phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. Voicemail transcript. "Hey, Ethan, it's Marie. I didn't know if I should call, but I just saw Clara at my clinic. She was wearing your brother's hoodie, the one from NYU. I thought you should know. Marie, my ex." What the fuck? I didn't even know she and Clara talked. Then the voicemail restarted on its own. Only this time it was a different voice. Clara's. "Delete that message. He doesn't need to know anything yet." The voicemail glitched, played both voices at once. Marie, frantic. Clara, cold. I stared at the screen, trying to catch my breath. Then the burner phone pinged again. A calendar invite. Title: Twin Flame Ceremony Final. Location: Arbor Ridge Forest, 6 p.m. tonight. That wasn't 3 hours. Clara had always joked about twin flames, said it was a myth, said she didn't believe in fate. Now she was planning a whole ceremony? I looked closer. The invite had 3 names on it. Clara, my brother, and someone I didn't recognize. Elias. My brain caught on fire. Elias was the name Clara muttered in her sleep 3 weeks ago. I asked her about it. She laughed and said, "You probably heard a TikTok." No, she lied to my face. I grabbed her purse and my phone and ran out of Janice's office. I didn't know where Arbor Ridge Forest was, but I knew someone who did. My brother's roommate, Mark.
I dialed. He picked up on the first ring. "Dude," he said, breathless, "are you calling about Clara?" I snapped. There was a pause. Then he said, "She just came here with a baby."
I nearly dropped the phone. "She brought a baby?" I repeated. Mark's voice was a whisper now. "She's in Derek's room. Said she needed a place to change the diaper, but man, she's acting weird, like paranoid, talking to herself. I think she's on something." "I'm coming over," I said. "No, don't." His tone changed, urgent, tight. He said if you show up, she's calling the cops. She says you've been harassing her. Harassing? Mark, I have her burner phone in my hand. I have a recording of her confessing to sabotaging me. I have a goddamn calendar invite to a twin flame ceremony. "Ethan," Mark interrupted, "I'm not saying I believe her, but there's something else." He paused, then said slowly, "She asked me to watch the baby while she's stepped out." My stomach dropped. "What?" "She handed it to me and walked out the door 5 minutes ago. Said she had to go tie off a karmic loop. That's literally how she put it." "Mark, that's not her child." There was a silence on the line so heavy I could feel it. "I know," he finally said. "It looks mixed race. Neither of you are, but she had a birth certificate, said you two adopted." "What name was on it?" He shuffled, then read, "Elias Monroe." Elias. That was the name from the calendar invite, the name Clara mumbled in her sleep. And now the surname matched. She named the child after her real partner, the one from her dream journal, the one she never wanted me to meet. But here's where the noose pulled tight. Elias Monroe was dead. He was Clara's college professor, a married man. He died in a hiking accident 3 years ago. She'd gone into a spiral after it, therapies, spiritual retreats, obsessions with past lives, and now she was naming a baby after him? "What else was in the diaper bag?" I asked. He hesitated. Just a bottle, wipes, spare clothes. Any tech?" Another pause. "There was a weird cube thing with a lens on it. I thought it was a charger." I went cold. "That's a pet cam, Mark. Get it and check if it's on." "Shit, it's blinking. Turn it to face a wall now." He obeyed. I opened my own pet cam app. Yes, I'd installed one weeks ago, and then I suspected she was moving things in the house. She always denied it. I'd hidden the camera in the kitchen shelf behind the cookbooks. It had motion triggers. There were 72 clips from the last 3 days. I opened the most recent. There was Clara, at 2 a.m., talking to no one. "I told you, he still thinks the baby is his, just like I said he would." She walked into frame, bent over the counter, and then a faint voice responded. Faint, male. "It's almost done, Clara. He'll leave you." She smiled, then did something I never forget. She kissed the burner phone. Not just a peck, a long, slow kiss, like it was a person. Then she whispered, "Not his, not mine, yours." That phrase. It echoed, like a spell. I opened another clip, this one from last week. She was alone again, holding a teddy bear. She said, "Say hi to Daddy." The bear squeaked. And then she turned to the window, lifted the bear's arm, and said, "Wave to Elias." I backed away from the scream. The camera caught nothing in the window. No one was there. But Clara spoke as if someone was. "I'm ready to make the switch. Ethan will get the invite. He'll think it's just a glitch." Switch? Invite? I opened the burner again and checked the calendar. A new notification had appeared. Event updated. Twin flame ceremony final. New location, Elias's cabin, Red Pine Trail. There was a GPS pen. She'd changed the location remotely. I opened Google Maps and searched for Red Pine Trail. It was in the mountains. No cell service, no houses nearby.
except for one abandoned ranger cabin listed under public records. Owner, Elias Monroe. What the fuck was happening? Then Mark texted. Mark, she came back. She's screaming. Says you stole something from her. She wants the baby back. Says it's her destiny. Should I call the cops? Before I could reply, another notification came in. A live feed request from the pet cam I didn't know existed. I tapped it. The screen lit up. Claire's face filled the frame, eyes wide, mascara smudged, breathing hard. She was staring right into the camera. I know you're watching, Ethan. She smiled. You always do, right before I disappear.
The feed didn't just cut. It glitched. A second of static, then a freeze frame of Claire's face mid-smile, eyes glassy, teeth aired, and then darkness. I stared at the screen, waiting for it to reconnect. Nothing. She'd manually disabled the pet cam. Clara knew I was watching, and she wanted me to. She wanted an audience. I called Mark. He didn't pick up. I texted, "Do not let her take the baby. I'm coming now." Then I grabbed my keys and raced to the car, adrenaline pumping like jet fuel. Red Pine Trail was almost 2 hours away, and if she was serious about the ceremony, I was already too late. Halfway there, Mark finally called back. "She's gone," he said. "She snatched the baby, ran out barefoot. I tried to stop her, but she screamed bloody murder, started throwing things." "Did she take a car?" "No, she ran into the woods." The woods. Just like the old dreams she'd once described. In it, she wandered into a forest at dusk and said someone was waiting at the gate between lifetimes. At the time, I thought it was some symbolic therapy metaphor. Now I wasn't so sure. I kept driving. By the time I reached the Red Pine Trail entrance, it was nearly sunset. The air was thin, cold, and smelled like pine and something coppery underneath. I parked and checked the burner phone again. Still no messages. But the GPS dot was there, still moving. Clara's location was pinging every few minutes. She was walking deeper into the woods, and she had the baby. I followed the trail, crunching over dead leaves, heart in my throat. After 20 minutes, I saw something strange. Pieces of white cloth tied around tree branches, like breadcrumbs, ritualistic. And then a voice, faint, chanting. I slowed my steps and crept closer. That's when I saw the cabin. It wasn't just a ruin. It was prepared. Candles lined the front steps. A baby blanket lay folded neatly on a log. And on the door, scrawled in red ink, or maybe blood, were the words, "The vessel returns." Inside, I could hear her. "I waited 3 lifetimes. This time, no hospitals, no steel tables, no DNA tests." Something cracked under my foot. She went silent. The door creaked open. Clara stepped out barefoot, her eyes wild, hair tangled, the baby clutched tight against her chest. "You weren't invited." I raised my hands. "Clara, please, just give me the baby." "You mean your insurance policy? The one you filed under your name but never checked?" "What?" She laughed. "You didn't even notice. You thought you were covering a child who doesn't share your blood. But he's covered because I forged it, just like everything else." "I know," I said, quietly. "I saw the footage from the kitchen, the pet cam. You talked to someone named Elias." She went still. "Elias is dead," I added. A long pause. Then she smiled. Soft, almost tender. "He's only dead here." That's when she held out the baby toward me. Not to hand him over. To show me. "He looks just like him," she whispered. I stared. The baby had dark hair, olive skin, and eyes too old for his face. He didn't cry, just stared back at me, blinking slowly. "Clara," I said, "that's not Elias." She stepped back. "Not yet," and slammed the door shut. I ran forward, but the knob wouldn't budge. She barricaded it. Inside, I heard her chanting again, louder, faster. I pounded on the door. "Clara!" Nothing. Then the sound of glass breaking. I ran around the back, searching for a window, found one cracked open. Inside, she stood in the center of the room, holding a candle over the baby's head. "No!" I shouted. "Put it down!" She didn't even flinch. "This time," she said, "he'll stay." I grabbed a rock and smashed the window, reached in to unlock it, then hoisted myself through. The candle was inches from the baby's face. She turned toward me, eyes glowing. "You were just the courier," she said. Then, a gunshot. The candle dropped. She screamed. I ducked instinctively, covering the baby with my body. When I looked up, the cabin door had burst open. Mark stood there, gun in hand. And Clara was bleeding from the shoulder, shrieking. But even as she collapsed, she screamed one final word. "Elias!" The baby wailed for the first time. But his cry wasn't normal. It was deep. Too deep. Like something trying to crawl out of the throat of someone else's child.
Total blackout. The flickering lights died like the last breath of reason in that cursed cabin. And then, silence. Mark was the first to break it. "Get the baby." I was already moving. I scooped him off the floor where he lay screaming beside the fallen candle. Clara writhed in the corner, clutching her shoulder, eyes still burning with that glassy, possessed glaze. I turned to Mark. "Is she... She'll live," he muttered, "but we need to go now." We didn't wait for the police. We didn't even think to call them. We just ran out the back window into the cold night air, down the forest trail, with the baby wrapped in Claire's blood-stained shawl. His cries faded into whimpers as we moved, almost too quickly. Like he'd gone limp. Like he wasn't really crying anymore, just mimicking it. We didn't speak until we were back at the car. Mark turned the ignition. "Where do we go?" "Anywhere with cell service." He nodded. 15 minutes later, we pulled into a 24-hour gas station off Route 6. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. A woman in a hand net swept around a coffee machine that hadn't been cleaned since the Bush administration. We sat in the car, quiet, too quiet. And then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. Static. Then a woman's voice. Clara's, maybe? But distorted. Slowed down. "You can't break a bond that wasn't made in this life." Click. I threw the phone on the dash. Mark stared. "That was her, wasn't it?" I don't know," I whispered. "It didn't sound like her. Not anymore." He looked down at the baby in my arms. He's not crying. I looked too. The baby stared back at us, wide-eyed, silent. Too silent. And then, out of nowhere, he said, "Elias." I dropped him. I dropped the baby. He hit the passenger seat with a thud and let out a normal, gurgly wail like any infant would. But Mark and I just stared at each other. "No," Mark said. "No, he didn't say that. He can't. He's barely 9 months. I know what I heard. You're just tired. Clara's been screwing with your head for months." "Not just mine," I snapped.
He didn't answer. The next day, we went back to the house. I wanted to get the pet cam footage, something to prove I wasn't hallucinating. Except the app was gone. Not just logged out, deleted. Every trace of the camera, gone. Not on my cloud, not in the App Store, not even in my Amazon history. But the camera was still mounted above the kitchen counter, solid, real, blinking a tiny red light. Mark pulled out a stepladder and unscrewed it. Inside the shell, instead of memory chips, they were printed slips of paper. 3 strips, each with a date and a time and a name. Elias, Amara, Caleb? I blinked. Mark stared. These aren't names from the daycare list. These are my dead cousins, I whispered. The room went cold. Why would she write this? He asked. She said Elias never belonged to her. She just carried him through. I thought it was therapy talk. Now I think she meant it literally. Mark turned pale. You think she, what? Summoned him? Possession? Reincarnation? I don't know. I checked the baby monitor. He was asleep in the next room. Peaceful. Too peaceful. Then my phone buzzed. Blocked number again. This time it was a voicemail. But not new. It was old. A saved one I didn't remember ever recording. From me? He's not yours, my voice whispered. Check the calendar. She never moved the dates. She never moved on. Mark played it twice, then looked at me. You didn't send that. I shook my head. I hadn't touched my voicemail settings in years, but the calendar line, I rushed to my fridge. The magnetic calendar Clara used religiously. Meal plans, baby nap logs, doctor appointments. The last entry? Full moon. Transfer. That was 6 weeks ago. And she'd written the same thing every month. Transfer. What does that mean? Mark asked. I don't know, I whispered. But I think she's been planning this since he was even born. The baby monitor crackled. We turned toward it. The screen flickered. He was standing in his crib at 9 months old, smiling. The screen glitched. His eyes glowed red for a split second. I blinked. Back to normal. The crib was empty. And yet, his giggle still echoed down the hallway. Mark sprinted toward the nursery. I followed, every nerve in my body crackling with static. The crib was there, the blanket rumpled, the baby monitor blinking, but no Elias. Mark checked the closet, under the crib, behind the curtains. He's not here, he said, breathless. He was just here. You saw him on the monitor. He was standing. I was already checking the door locks, all of them sealed, but the window was cracked. Mark noticed it too. That was shut. I locked it this morning. We both knew what that meant. Someone or something had come in, or he'd gotten out. Either way, we had minutes, maybe less. I grabbed the pet cam shell again, shaking it, hoping for some hidden mechanism, and it clicked. Another paper strip fell out. It read, "Run." We did. We sprinted to the backyard, checking every corner, every bush, every shadow. The trees swayed ominously in the windless air. It felt wrong, like the whole world was holding its breath. And then, laughter. Not a baby's, a woman's, from behind the shed. Mark was faster. He reached it first and yanked the door open. Clara stood there, holding Elias. Her face bloody, but smiling. You forgot your son, she said sweetly. He's not our son, I whispered. Mark stepped forward, fist clenched. What did you do to him? Nothing. She looked down at the baby. He's stronger now, quieter. You should thank me. Give him back, I demanded, voice cracking. I'm not keeping him, she said calmly. I just needed him to wake up, and now that he has... She let him go. Just like that. Elias toddled forward. On 2 feet. No wobble.
eyes sharp, a strange smile twitching across his lips. He walked into my arms and curled up like nothing happened, but the chill didn't leave me. Not when Clara turned to Mark and said, "Tell her." Mark froze. "What?" I asked. "Tell me what?" Clara's voice turned cold. "Tell her what you did." I looked at Mark. His hands were shaking. "I didn't—" he started, but Clara interrupted. "It wasn't the chemo." The world stopped. "What?" "I never had cancer. I told him he'd come back, and he did. For a little while." I stared at Mark. He didn't deny it. "You—" I took a step back. "You slept with her?" "It was one time," he said quietly. "During her fake chemo?" He flinched. I didn't know it was fake. I couldn't breathe. "You cheated on me with your ex-wife while she was pretending to die?" "It was complicated. No, it was simple. You wanted her back, and you used me to feel better about it." Clara smiled. "That's not all," she added. "Ask him when the baby was conceived." I turned to Mark, ice in my blood. He didn't answer. "So she did. 2 weeks after your engagement," she said, "he came to check on me, and he stayed." Mark's voice was barely audible. "I didn't know. She said it wasn't mine." Clara smirked. "DNA doesn't lie." My knees buckled. Everything blurred. Elias, the midnight phone calls, the calendar that never changed, the way Clara always said, "I'm just the vessel." She wasn't being cryptic. She was telling me the truth. Mark wasn't the victim. I was the proxy. A stand-in for whatever game they were playing. A witness to their spiritual custodial battle over a child neither of them wanted unless it came with control. But the final blow, Clara reached into her coat pocket and pulled out another paper strip. She said, "Last one. I left it in the crib. Wanted you to find it eventually." She handed it to me. One word. Replacement. Then she turned and walked into the woods, vanishing like smoke. Mark didn't follow. Neither did I. Elias blinked up at me. Innocent. Or pretending to be. That night, I laid him in the crib again. Watched him sleep. Or pretend to. The baby monitor crackled. I reached for it. My own voice played back. "Tell her, or I will."
The voice on the baby monitor, was it mine? It wasn't Mark's, and it wasn't Clara's. It was older, raspier, like an echo dredged up from some deep, unfinished place. She was never supposed to raise him. I froze. My spine stiffened. My throat clenched around the scream I didn't let out. Elias lay perfectly still in the crib, breathing slow, eyes shut. But he was awake. I could feel it. The air buzzed with a tension I couldn't name, like the room itself was holding something back. And the baby monitor, still hissing in my hand, began playing back more voices, cut up fragments that had never happened. She signed it. She doesn't know. They replaced her with someone pliable. I dropped the monitor. It cracked on the hardwood. Mark rushed in. What was that? I couldn't look at him. Not yet. None after what Clara had said, what he'd confirmed with his silence. Instead, I pointed to the crib. He looked down at Elias. He's asleep. No, he's not. Mark blinked. What are you talking about? I swallowed. He hasn't been asleep. Not once since Clara handed him back. Mark tilted his head, almost curious. What do you mean? He hasn't blinked.
Mark looked again and realized I was right. Elias was staring at the ceiling, unmoving. Then slowly, like he'd been waiting for us to notice, he smiled. Mark stepped back. I grabbed the last strip of paper and turned it over. Clara's handwriting was on the back, faint but legible. Not his, not mine, hers. I gasped. Hers? I asked out loud. But I knew. The dreams, the shadows, the faint outline in the mirror behind Elias every time I turned on the light. The woman I thought I was. The one Clara warned me about without ever naming her. Not the ex, not the mistress, the replacement. I ran to my nightstand and yanked out the folder with Elias's discharge papers. And there, stamped faintly at the bottom corner, was a second set of initials I had never noticed before. CDR. Clara Danielle Ruiz. My name now, but not mine then. I was the one who signed the final form, but I hadn't been alone in that room. I just didn't remember. Until the dream returned. Not the chaotic ones. The first dream, the one I'd buried. White sheets, a nurse with no face, a second baby being wheeled away, and Mark whispering, "Just sign it, don't think about it, it's already done." My body turned to ice. I stumbled back into the hallway. Mark followed. "He thought he could fix it," he said hoarsely. "He thought if I gave you the name, the papers, the house, you'd forget." I didn't know she'd wake up. I turned, slowly. "You let them take the real baby?" His voice broke. "I didn't know they'd switch him. I thought we were just smoothing things out. Legally." "Legally?" I choked on the word. "I didn't know it was a ritual." "A what?" He swallowed hard. "Clara said we needed a vessel, one that wouldn't fight it. That if we raised him under the wrong name, with the wrong blood, he'd never wake up. She lied." I backed away. "You used me?" His eyes filled with tears. "I loved you. You gaslit me into motherhood with a baby that isn't even..." I couldn't finish. Because Elias was standing in the doorway. Not crawling, not toddling, standing, silent. And behind him, flickering just beneath the hallway light, was her. That outline of the woman from my dreams, from his dreams. Her face was mine, but not. Clara never needed custody. She already had it. She'd just been waiting for me to remember. And I finally had. I turned to Mark, but he was gone. Not dead, not missing, just not there anymore, as if he'd never lived here before. Elias reached for me. "Mommy?" he asked. And the world twisted. Not his, not mine, hers.